Welcome to another Charge Way podcast. This is another episode of Women in Charge, and I'm back with the whole crew. Welcome.
Yay.
Yay. So today we were thinking of having a bit of a chat around feeling confident in yourself, body image, feeling sexy when you have more muscle mass. How does that sound?
Awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Does anyone have any really strong opinions? Feeling sexy with muscle mass?
I thought maybe we could start by talking about how it's actually really difficult to get bulky. And how I feel like a lot of people come into the gym and they're like, oh, I don't want to get bulky right away. But you're not.
I'm trying a lot.
How long have we been all trying for?
It's been decades. So I think, and feel free to jump in at any point, you need three things. Particularly if you're a female athlete, because we don't have that upper body muscle mass the way that men do, it's a little bit harder for us. So I think you need three things. You need a calorie surplus, you need hypertrophy training specifically, and then you need patience. So muscle is a really metabolically expensive thing for your body to have. It doesn't want to put on muscle because you need to eat heaps and heaps of food to maintain that muscle and put on that muscle constantly. If someone could pay me to do that, sweet. So your body is designed to be as efficient as possible. So if you are not eating enough, it's going to be enough. It's going to be great. I'm just going to strip muscle mass and put all my energy into important things like heart and lungs and things. So you have to eat a lot of food to give your body enough energy required to run all its basal metabolic stuff, cover your your energy expenditure in the daytime, and then have enough left over to put on muscle. So it's not I started CrossFit and 2 weeks later I'm yoked.
You take it to me.
Yeah. And coupled with that, you're going to need to train specifically for hypertrophy. And you are going to put on a little bit of muscle when you start CrossFit. It's inevitable. You are doing a little bit of you're increasing your load, you're increasing your intensity and your volume. But if you specifically want to get jacked, you've got to do all of that kind of bodybuilding stuff. Or maybe not heaps and heaps, but you're going to have to do some of that. You're going to have to train really hard. You're going to have to train at or close to failure. And you've got to look for that progressive overload every session. And then...
is that CrossFit? How is this different than CrossFit training?
So CrossFit training is, we use functional movements. So we're using multi-joint compound lifts.
Someone's been studying for their level 3.
I can see that, yeah.
So where an isolation movement like a bicep curl is going to just use your bicep, whereas something like a pull-up is going to use your bicep, but it's also going to use your back, abs, or core, we'll say. And that's technically a compound lift, whereas a bicep curl is going to just target your bicep. So it does have its place, but it's not strictly CrossFit per se. Yeah, it is a good accessory lift, the way we use it, but it's not the main thing bodybuilders would use it for. Yep. And then, patience. A lot of time, I think if you look back at photos from I specifically did a big hypertrophy block in 2019. I spent the whole year, I was all right, I'm going to get stacked this year. And it's so funny because if you look at photos of me from 2019, you can see I'm so much more muscular than I was in 2018. But 6 years later, I'm even more muscular than I was back then. So it's just time. You just have to take time. It's a slow process. You can get fit really quickly if you're willing to hurt, but putting muscle on
muscles
is really slow.
And particularly when you have that goal, it feels even slower because you're I really want this thing. I want to look this way, or I want whatever, biceps, shoulders, quads, blah, blah, blah. So when you have that ambition to put on muscle or to look a certain way, it feels it goes even slower because you're I'm putting in the work, but it's only been a week.
But also I think that which is your goal? When you start training, I want to get healthier, I want a performance, and most of people, I don't think that they want a performance when they start any kind of sport. They just want to start something, and most of then one aesthetic, like appearance stuff,
Yeah.
and like how they can change the mindset and how they can set like the expectations what they're gonna get with some specific modality like this you're gonna get in CrossFit, this you're gonna get in swim. Like in the end of the day, what is your goal?
Yeah,
like and what you are willing to do for that goal, like
Yeah.
because this changed your whole life. We know that we live in the gym like 24/7 and like
Sleep in the shipping container.
yeah. Well, now everybody knows. 5 a.m. class, that's the reason that I'm there.
We just hang from the pull-up bar. Like,
It's like that's
Yeah. And like actually set the expectations with your goals. Like
Yeah.
I want to get performance. No, I want this like for my aesthetic. Okay.
Yeah.
But how sustainable is that?
Totally. I think like there's nothing wrong with having a goal to look good. And I think that if you ask anybody, even the people who are like,
Everyone wants to look
everyone
good.
wants to look good. Everybody wants to wake up in the morning and feel good
Yeah.
about themselves.
Yes.
And yeah, like totally. Like I'm still trying to get big shoulders.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
it's showing, Keely. All the work you're putting in.
Gilly, I'm flexing on the table the whole time. Very natural.
But like, and yes, everybody wants to look good. So these goals don't necessarily have to be like mutually exclusive. Like I think I look better than I did when I had no muscles, but also like my goal is to be really good at CrossFit. And so my aesthetic goals have shifted as a result of that because I've surrounded myself with people who are training for the same thing and have the same priorities as me. And yeah, it's okay for like your priorities to be different from other people. That's okay. Like not everybody wants to be the best. They just want to like sweat for an hour and go home and feel like they've ticked the box, you know? That's okay too. Like there's nothing wrong, there's nothing right. But I think if you have goals and you have priorities, there is going to be a point where you have to make peace with the fact that you can't have it all, unfortunately.
There's
Yeah.
always
I-
going to be a trade-off.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Like, what would you answer for a person that, no, my only goal is just get pretty? Like, do you think that this person could do CrossFit? I already know the answer, but I want to know your opinion. Like, I already know what kind of answer I would. I just want to look pretty. This person arrived at the gym today. Like, what do you say to her? Like, usually for women, that we are listening a lot for women,
Yeah.
this issue.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I would say it's more about you feeling good in your skin and then your confidence coming through rather than how you appear. Does that kind of make sense? Like,
Yeah.
it's when you turn up and you're confident in who you are, you have this like light about you and like you attract a certain energy. It almost doesn't really matter how you look. It's that when you're confident, you're like, yeah, I am rocking this outfit. I look freaking hot. Like, yes,
Yeah.
you like, you light up the room around you. So the answer is yes, you can do CrossFit. And because I feel like CrossFit actually changes your confidence levels because you're doing all of these things that you haven't done before. You're being a beginner again. You're learning to master skills. You're pushing yourself beyond what you thought you were capable of, that you start to actually change the way that you feel about yourself. And that then changes with your confidence and the way that you interact with other people. So it almost then changes it away from kind of aesthetics. But the aesthetics come along.
Even if you want
the right-
aesthetic
yeah.
goals,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think like just having an aesthetic focus can be tricky because when you spend weeks on end just worrying about what you look like, that can turn negative pretty quickly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like especially if you're using things like scales to measure that or photos or, you know, like people have different seasons and go through, you know, ups and downs with that kind of stuff. And to have a goal that's solely aesthetic can turn negative pretty quickly.
Yeah, because your body is like it's in a state of flux. It's never going to be the same even day to day. And if you are spending all your time, wasting all your time,
correction.
as someone who's done that, where you stand there and you just break yourself apart into pieces and look at every single part of yourself and assess it on like, okay, is this better or worse than yesterday? Like, not saying that everybody is going to go kind of down that road, but it is a really negative place to be because your body is permanently changing from morning to night, from like day to day.
And I think like particularly for females on a,
Cyclical basis.
Cyclical
One
basis.
could say.
Yes.
I love the way
Like
they
a
look
long-
at each other right now.
Long period of time. Like, you know, our hormones are different than male hormones, and it means that there's fluctuations across a month and, you know, across a certain period of time, and you can't, you know, even they talk about like measuring your weight at the same time, like, but it's going to be different every single day
Yeah.
because your hormones are doing different things every single day.
Yeah.
So it takes time. You can't judge it on how much weight you've lost in a month because
Yeah.
come day one, like it cycles itself again.
Yeah.
And also, like, what can be pretty for me is not the same day is pretty
Yeah.
for you. And like, I'm looking this standard because I wanted this, or because
Yeah.
the environment that I am inside want this for me. Like, and you are actually asking for validation, or you actually feel good how you are, like exactly how you are, like the pandemic. And the pandemic, you most like was stuck inside of the house, and I think this was a good environment for you. Like, it's just me, myself, and I against the house. Like, what I would do just for myself. Would I still training? Would I still want to look good in the mirror? I'm doing that for me, or because now that we are not in like the lockdown, I want to look good again because people are gonna see me.
Yeah.
Like, this is for you, or it's like for others.
That's a really good point. Like if you're getting your validation like from external sources, like other people or like online, or do you look the way your favorite actor looks or
some
something?
kind of beauty trend.
Yeah,
or-
it's like like that's not a sustainable place to gain that sort of validation. Whereas if you're getting it internally from like feeling good or having like internal measures of progress, like you got to pull up or something like that. Like if you've got these other internal measures of like validation, that's a much more sustainable place. And they might shift, of course, but they're going to be less of an emotional roller coaster than like what other people are telling you. 'Cause particularly, sorry, you talk.
Oh, no. I was just going to talk about like fashion industry.
Oh yeah, totally. I was going to
So, fashion industry, I was speaking to someone in that industry, and it goes on like it ranges from like a 15 to 25 year cycle. So at the kind of 25 years, 20 years is about where we're at with fashion trends again. So if you look back from now 20 years ago,
early 2000s.
early 2000s, they're coming back.
I love it.
You know, we had
I was a baby.
Oh my god.
but like it goes in cycles. So what is 25 years ago is kind of early
Dresses over jeans.
early trends of that are starting to come back
Yeah.
in, and they're the early adopters. And then the 15 years ago are kind of like, if you think on a scale of how people adopt like behavior change, the 15 years is kind of like the late majority to the laggards, and then the I think I've got that right. I'm like, which way around am I? Anyway, the 20 years, right? 20 years is kind of the early majority and the late majority. So that's kind of where fashion trends are. And I don't really remember what happened that long ago for fashion trends, but they're kind of in trends. They're coming back now, like baggy jeans instead of tight jeans. We went through tight jeans, now we're back to baggy
Yeah.
jeans.
Yep.
And then there were flares, and then, you know, all of these things are going to kind of cycle in and out.
Yeah, and
And
I
it-
remember when flares came in just before skinny jeans as well. Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
It was
yeah.
flares, and then it was like super
Super
skinny,
skinny jeans.
low-rise
Yep.
jeans. Yep. Oh. Yep.
Yeah. But like, I guess like assessing yourself on how you feel or how other people react to how you feel wearing those clothes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And even like trends for women's bodies changes as well. It's like for women, it's like your body is seen as like an accessory in the way that like for men it's not. So like we
Thank
had
you, certain awards show.
we had like really thin plucked eyebrows, and then it was like really thick drawn on eyebrows, and then now we're veering back and dangerously close to really thin eyebrow territory. And things like, you know, like like really skinny was like when Kate Moss was kind of being like supermodel, that heroin chic thing, and then like Kim Kardashian got a BBL, and then everybody needed to have a big butt, and now
Yeah.
she got it taken out, and everybody needs to like be skinny again, but now we're seeing it because heroin's not cool, but running and Pilates are cool. So everyone's doing that. Should we edit that out?
I think no, but like actually it depends on the culture as well. Like in Brazil was always like the culture of big butt, big butt, big bubs. Like and you can see a lot of the Brazilian women. They say, oh, they are pretty and stuff. They have all the, not all of them, but it's like it's something that is common for us. You need to have the big butt. You need to go to the gym to train your butt and like have your surgery to have the boobs and whatever. And like I think Asian, they usually like more skinny. They like they're really white skin. It's like the way that they like that is pretty. It's just different in cultures. Like there is something in Australia that is pretty for them. Like some standard.
I think
but like some standard that like Australian woman should be like this.
I think they probably follow like the
US and
yeah, like
Western
like if
trends.
running and yoga and Pilates is in, then like being skinny is in again. Like it sort of seems to follow like the exercise regime that people
like
take
the aerobics in the 80s and
and
stuff like that. And so like you're never gonna match. You can't, chasing it is a futile like exercise. Like you're not going to ever fit that. And I think at some point you have to be like, enough. This is not working for me anymore. I need to do what feels good for me. And sometimes that's really difficult to figure that out. But like,
even more if you're by yourself or if you feel different in an environment that is like this. And even more if you spend much time in social media, because we know that this is an issue. Like I remember that I used to feel like this maybe 6 years ago, like 20s, like that age that you are not an adult, you are not more a teenager, you are like in the middle.
You don't know who you are.
Yeah, you don't know who you are. You just like accept everything. I remember that time I took a decision. I'm gonna like unfollow all these influencers, fitness influencers that actually there's some really nice influencers that make you actually one day you have a better life and whatever, but there's some of them that just make you feel like I'm shit. I don't wake up 4 a.m. I'm not like always happy in the morning and whatever, and I don't have this skinny body just like with detox stuff. Like I don't like green juice. I like green juice, but still just drinking green juice and eating apples is not something like for me. I like carbohydrates.
Sustainable.
Like cetogenic diet and stuff like this. So this person does that, like she has a beautiful body, but if I don't do exactly like that, I'm gonna feel like shit.
I was gonna say, I think the other thing like to consider is that even if the four of us did exactly the same kind of exercise, which maybe for the most part we sort of do, like if we would eat exactly the same thing, go to bed at the same time, like all the variables were exactly the same, we would all still look totally different. Like, so looking at someone else externally on Instagram, social media, or whatever, you can think whatever you want to think about that person. They're beautiful, they have a nice body, whatever, but you chasing that exact body type, you're never going to get that.
I'm never going to be a 6 foot tall netball player.
Yeah.
And I just, you can't.
Keep trying, Kelly.
I can't look like that. I'm growing so hard. But what I can do is I'm just gonna look like me. Like this is my whole. I have to live in this body. Yeah. This is me for the rest of my life. And if I'm chasing something that is completely impossible for me to get, like I'm just gonna be really sad.
Yeah, I actually have a question for you. Like, have you ever were in a date with some guy, like random stuff? Sorry, because all of you have like partners. But it is what it is. I think that like everybody's curious about like, and the guy felt kind of threatened by like your muscles or by like your history with CrossFit or like sport. Yeah.
Great question.
Well, I started CrossFit when I was already in my relationship. So
okay.
My partner Josh, he's seen me go from like 20 kilos lighter to me now.
He loves you.
He does. Yeah.
He really loves you.
But like, you know, I mean, I guess like the roles have shifted. I'm the jar opener in the household. But yeah, like I think because he is so comfortable and secure in who he is and what he does that there's no sort of insecurity there about me being stronger than him or anything like that, because he's always just being very comfortable with exactly who he is. And he's seen so many versions of Keely across that time.
You've probably seen so many versions of him too.
Yeah, that's it. Like he's not the same as he was when he was 19.
And this is actually what you search in a relationship. So like if you are in a date with someone and you actually are searching for a relationship, like long term with that person, you're probably gonna have different seasons in your body, in your life, in your humor, and whatever. And if that person in the first date is like, oh, you have big shoulders, so your biceps is like bigger than mine. Like,
what would you do if someone said, "Oh, you're quite strong," or you're
I am.
Yeah. I would say you better get stronger then.
your biceps look quite large. Like, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
I think someone needs to hit the gym themselves.
I think it's, because it's like if you are happy with what you're doing, then someone's external judgment or assessment of you, look, if someone was like, oh, I don't really like girls with big arms, then you're probably going to have a moment where you're going to be like, okay,
this sucks.
Okay. But, which I think is understandable because if someone tells you to your face that they don't like something about your appearance, of course you're going to take that personally.
Oh, but also like if someone says to me that you have like big biceps, I would say, oh, thank you. I'm working a lot.
Thank you so much for noticing.
And it's actually about the way that you feel with yourself. Because if you don't feel comfortable with your body and you're already like, you asking for validation on that table in that date, you're probably gonna feel bad when someone talks something like that. It's just because you don't want to feel like this and you don't feel comfortable already. Then you have like one more person talking about your body, like. But it's still like I always felt confident after CrossFit, like how my body is, and like of course there were some waves, and you like, well, I want to be like this, but in the end of the day, I just want to have more pull-ups, like a heavier snatch, a heavier clean and jerk. Like these are my metrics, but I also understand that for some people, for some girls, it's not their metrics, and I'm not saying that they can do like Pilates and running. I love all of this, but I'm saying like what's gonna be best for you when you get old.
What do you want? Like what do you actually want? Like you've got to, I think you might have to sit down and like really sit with that question for a bit if you're not sure and be like, what do I actually want? What do I want in 5 years or 10 years? What's going to be sustainable and enjoyable for me?
Yeah.
Oh, this was like very tense environment right now. Keely, I think that you can drop the microphone, but please don't do that because Ed's gonna kill us.
Like if you want to talk about setting yourself up for like the rest of your life, I think that like having a certain level of muscle has a really like protective effect on like bone density and like of course muscle mass.
Please get sciencey with us.
So sarcopenia is the decline of muscle in older age, and it happens to everybody. There's nothing you can do to avoid it. We don't really know why it happens. It just happens. So everyone's muscle mass tends to decline at the same rate. But if you start from a much higher baseline, you're going to decline at the same rate as somebody else, but you're going to finish in a much higher place than them.
Yep.
And that's going to protect you from things like falling over. We know that a massive fall risk in older adults is lack of muscle mass because you lack the strength to get up from the floor. Lack of resistance training in like your younger years means that your bone density is much weaker, so you're more likely to break a bone, and of course once you fall you're more likely to fall again. So if you are able to have a protective amount of muscle, you're going to be way more functional in your old age. You're probably going to fall over less or not at all, and if you do fall over you're probably going to be able to get yourself up. You probably won't have broken a hip.
Kind of looks like a burpee.
Oh my god.
Damn right.
But also like there is these places that we are working this strength and it's more like functional training. I'm not blaming functional training, but you are doing like squats with a kettlebell of like 8 kilos. This is not strength work. Can be like if you are in the beginning of your journey, but like if you have 2 years training, 8 kilos, this is not supposed to be like it's supposed to increase a little bit of weight and not 8 to 12. Yeah, exactly. And I think that CrossFit, and not because we do CrossFit, but still, there's all these variants that allows you to work in strength conditioning, like aerobic conditioning and all the stuff that you're going to need when, you're going to need when you get older. So Like I love being on my 20s because I'm still in my 20s, but maybe 10 years from now, my goal is not the same like I am right now after kids and like all families. I don't know how I'm gonna be in like 20 years, and like if I think just today, I want to live tomorrow. So I know that like sometimes we don't know if we're gonna live tomorrow and whatever, but still I want to live tomorrow and 20 years from now I want to have my family, play with my kids and with my so.
Yeah, it's like I wanna be able to trust my body when I'm 85 the same way I trust it now that I'm like nearly 33. I wanna know that I can get up out of a chair and I can sit down on the toilet and I can bend down to pick something up off the floor. And the best way to do that is by doing CrossFit.
And like I think actually I would speak in Portuguese. I do that all the time. But it's still like if some girl is watching us, like, or even a woman that don't feel confident like in her body, what things you would advise this woman, this young girl to do like now? Oh, she doesn't do CrossFit or she does CrossFit and she doesn't feel confident with the modality because she thinks that she's gonna get bulky and like all this stuff. Like, what do you recommend her? What kind of advice you would give to her? Bulky.
I would say do hard things. Challenge yourself.
Prove to yourself.
Prove to yourself that you can. Prove to yourself that you can improve and get better. Because once you start trying something and failing at it and being okay with failure, taking that as a learning experience and then continuing to push forwards, even though that it kind of hurts a little bit or a lot, like, you know, both mentally and physically, showing yourself that you can do something starts building your confidence up in ways that you just can't even imagine right now. You're like, there's no way that will happen to me. And then suddenly it happens and you're like, oh, like, wait, I just did the thing that I thought I could never do. Like, I did my first pull-up. I snatched 30 kilos. I snatched 35 kilos. I then snatched 45 kilos. Like, you don't notice in the moment. It's never an in the moment thing. It's always kind of like a looking forwards, looking back. It's like, oh, if, 2 years ago, this is what I was able to do. And then look at where I am now. And it completely can transform you over time. So I'd say, 1, start CrossFit or keep doing CrossFit if you're already doing it. 2, keep challenging yourself. Really push the boundaries on what you're capable of and be okay to fail. That's, why the coaches are there. That's why we're there every session to help you through that and to really keep pushing those boundaries with you in a really safe way, but in a way that's actually going to challenge you at the same time.
And also, like, talk about this with someone.
Yeah.
You don't need to hold this with yourself. Like, at least in Charge, it's a good gym. Sorry, but free merchandise, but still, we have like 4 of us that we understand when you are in your period and you don't feel good with training. You're like, you're bloated. You don't feel good with training. You are like 1 week training really well and then 3 weeks just feeling like a shit. We get it. So like, just talk with somebody. You don't need to hold that with yourself and like, I need to die with this secret. Like, it's just get easier if you talk.
Everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah.
Like, everyone feels the same. Everyone's going through the same stuff. You're not the only person to experience what you're feeling, and that should be a comfort.
Yeah.
To you, that you're not you're not the first person to like feel this. Or
I think it's like making those things that feel impossible, like making them possible. Like if you've been, I'll use Charge people as an example. Like if you've been at Charge for whatever, 5-10 years and you're like, oh, I really want a pull up, I really want muscle up, whatever it is, like those things don't have to be impossible for you. It's really easy to be like, oh, I'm just like a bit heavier and I can't do gymnastics, or like put barriers in front of you. But I think like we're here to help you break them down. Like you can get a pull up. Everyone can get a pull up. Everyone has the capacity to do that. So how do we make that happen for you?
Yeah.
And all of the things with body image, in the end of the day, is like, I don't want to be perfect. I just want to be real. Oh, drop the microphone, friend.
I had one of my old bosses in Canberra, shout out to Becca, told me once that she thought that there was nothing sexier than a woman who was just like very strong and very capable. And I think that if you're willing to take the chance of just like trying it for yourself, I think you'll be surprised at how good it feels to like be completely in your body and like just inhabit it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm
think
very
we're good.
like emotional with this chat. Yeah. I wish that I like had watched this when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard when you feel that you are alone on this, and you don't are.
Yeah. We've literally all been through it.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Yeah.
better than feeling strong.
Oh my God.
Yeah. and
We can make a
confident.
T-shirt like that.
Yeah.
Send to the marketing guy, Alice.
Fashion trends. We're creating a new one right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I think like I would never ever trade like feeling strong now for how I felt like 20 kilos lighter.
Yeah,
like there
definitely
is
not.
no, they are not even on the same planet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also just search for people that make you feel good with yourself. Like,
Yeah.
just sitting on this table, have this chatting, it's just feeling
Yeah.
amazing because I know that I'm in an environment with strong women that they think the same, and not just because you share the same thoughts, but
Yeah.
just because I admire you so much, like about everything that you can do in the gym, the way that you treat people, the way that you treat me. Like, it's just surround yourself with this kind of energy, something
Yeah.
that actually feels good, just being yourself. Like, these
Yeah.
people gonna like you, just even though you do a lot of mistakes in English, if you if you don't have a good day training, if you don't
Yeah.
like, these people gonna be there for you, like, just because you are you, and this is your most special thing like on earth. You're unique, like, would be
Yeah.
like when you are unique.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love you
Cool.
guys.
Yeah.
I hear you cry.
All right. Let us know in the comments if there's any specific topic you would like us to talk about. But I think that rounds out our Women in Charge this episode.
Number 2.
Number 2.